Aunt Rachel, are you sure about this? A few days after getting married and moving into our new home, I invited my beloved niece and her mother, my sister, to visit. During their visit, my niece said something that made us uneasy. Hey now, kids shouldn't be messing with grown-ups. My husband quickly scolded her, his worry evident. But there was another reason why he was freaking out. My name is Rachel, and I'm a 30-year-old pharmacist. I often look after my niece who lives nearby, and she has grown very attached to me. She's the cutest, and I end up spoiling her. Every time my sister picks her up, she complains, I know I'm the one who asked you to look after her, but you spoil her too much. Of course, whenever she drops her off, she warns, remember, you can't spoil a child when raising them. But I always joke and reply that parenting is a mother's responsibility. That's how things go every day in my life. My sister is a nurse, so she's busy most of the time. She works in a well-paying hospital ward and also takes night shifts. On the other hand, as a pharmacist working at a drugstore, I have fixed working hours and no night shifts. I'm off on days without outpatient visits, and I don't have to be called in when the clinic is understaffed. So I often end up looking after my niece when my sister is busy. It might be because of her situation, but compared to kids her age, she is very calm and obedient. Girls are said to grow up faster than boys, but in her case, I think her family environment plays a significant role. I've been spending time with her to make sure she doesn't feel lonely, but now she has me wrapped around her finger. She's a quiet child who doesn't seek much attention, but she has this one ability that's hard for others to understand. For instance, when I tell her, the park was empty today, wasn't it? Time flew by quickly. Want to take a shortcut home? She would give an eerie response, saying, Auntie Rachel, we shouldn't go that way. There's something bad there. Let's take the long way around. Incidents like this happen often. What bad thing? I've heard that children have heightened senses that allow them to see and hear things we can't, but is that for real? To be honest, I don't fully believe it. One day, a regular male customer at the pharmacy asked me out for lunch. When you hear regular at a pharmacy, you might think he's sick, but that's not necessarily true. This man got injured while working and is just getting treatment, so he's healthy overall. In the beginning, he visited frequently, and we casually chatted. His injury was healing well, and we were talking about him maybe not needing to come anymore when he asked me out for lunch. After a few lunch dates, he invited me out for dinner, and we had drinks at a rather fancy bar. I started to let my guard down with him and even shared some personal things about myself. It started to dawn on me that crossing that line into a relationship was just a matter of time. Then he proposed to me very passionately. I want to get married to you right now. I can imagine my life without you, Rachel. Hearing him say that made me incredibly happy. I was overwhelmed by the realization that he needed me in his life, and I found no reason to reject him. So I accepted his proposal, feeling as if I were being drawn into it. To my surprise, he picked me up in front of everyone, laughing like a child. I found that side of him charming. Let's have a ceremony just for the two of us right now, he suggested enthusiastically. He mentioned knowing someone in the bridal industry who could host and prioritize our wedding ceremony. While I was delighted, I still wanted to be blessed by our loved ones at our ceremony, so I turned down his suggestion. His disappointed face honestly made my heart ache, but I wanted our union to be blessed by others more than anything else, so I chose to stick with my decision. Even though he looked disappointed, he respected my feelings and withdrew his suggestion quite easily. That was another thing I liked about him. The very next day, which was the happiest day of my life, I shared the news of our engagement with my older sister before she went to work. Seeing her joy, as if it were her own, made me relieved that I didn't have to rush the ceremony. As I was happily recalling yesterday's events, he texted me saying he wanted to see me. When we first started dating, I remembered him mentioning that he had a younger sister. However, I was surprised to hear for the first time that his sister was hospitalized at the moment. When I asked why he hadn't told me earlier, he explained that he didn't want me to accept his marriage proposal out of sympathy for him. He also pointed out the possibility of the opposite happening. I assured him that I wouldn't make decisions based on his sister's illness, and his soft response of "I know" made me fall head over heels for him. But I still pulled myself together to stay grounded. He showed me a picture of his sister and told me, when I told her about you, Rachel, she said she can't wait for the day when she can call you Big Sis. I felt a deep desire to make his sister's wish come true as soon as possible. Holding my hand, he said, "Let's become a family soon." I was moved once again. Even though we weren't married yet, I wasn't against the idea of being called Big Sis by his younger sister. I wanted to visit her in the hospital before we got married, but when I mentioned this to him, he said, after I visited her the other day, her condition worsened and the doctors limited her visitation. Is it okay for you to be seeing me right now, in a time like this? I asked. He responded by pulling out a charm from his jacket pocket. All I can do is pray for my sister. I stopped by the church before I came here to see you, Rachel. There's nothing I can do besides praying for her. Damn it, he expressed, frustration evident in his voice. Seeing him like this, I deeply wanted to support him. The next day, he suddenly stopped contacting me. I guess his sister's condition had worsened. I hoped he wasn't pushing himself too much. After about 3 days, his usual cheery self showed up at the pharmacy. Although he could have just texted me, he said he wanted to see me in person, which made me happy. We made plans to meet after we both got done with work. When I arrived at our rendezvous right on time, he was already there waiting. As I suspected, he explained that he had been by his sister's bedside due to her deteriorating condition. He told me she was still not allowed to have other visitors, but her condition was now stable, and I breathed a sigh of relief. Then he handed me a letter, saying it was from his sister. I was surprised. I didn't expect to receive a letter from her since I heard she was in critical condition. Reading my expression, he explained, seems like she's been writing a lot, and I didn't even know. He then shyly admitted, actually, I fell for you at first sight, so I had a crush on you for a long time. It turns out he had been talking about me even before we started dating. The letter contained words of hope for our relationship, dreams of her brother's love being fulfilled. I hope the day comes when I get to call you Big Sis soon, she wrote. I wonder if I could even be a flower girl, she wrote, dreaming of me marrying her brother and us becoming a family. Fighting an illness is hard. It's probably a struggle to even use her limited energy to wish for others' happiness, yet her letter was filled with thoughts of her brother getting married to me. Her words brought tears to my eyes. Let's get married soon, I told him with excitement. It seemed unlikely that his sister would be able to attend our wedding, but I wanted her to witness her beloved brother's big day. After some insistence, I got him to reveal the name of the hospital she was staying at, and I found a wedding chapel nearby. The chapel was visible from the patient's room or the rooftop, making it feel like she could be there with us. I begged to have our ceremony there. He was touched to know that I genuinely cared about his sister, and he was fully on board with the idea. We soon fixed a date. Ideally, we wanted to choose one of those auspicious days, but we couldn't afford to be picky. The date we chose was less expensive and the only one available, so we went with it without hesitation. While preparations were hastily underway, he made a suggestion. He asked if we could wait a bit longer to turn in our marriage certificate. His sister's condition had worsened, and she needed surgery as soon as possible. The medical bill was going to be more expensive than expected, affecting our wedding budget. It didn't feel right to have a wedding under such circumstances either. When I suggested waiting until after his sister's surgery, he exclaimed, if she found out our wedding was canceled because of her, it would ruin her will to heal. Hearing that, I couldn't say anything, and the wedding proceeded as planned. For the time being, I paid for our ceremony in one installment, under the agreement that we would split the costs after his sister's medical bills were paid. Despite the short notice, a decent number of our close friends and family managed to attend our wedding day. My own sister, who's a nurse, even managed to get time off with the help of her colleagues, saying, "This is an important day for my little sister." "I can't miss it," my cute little niece declared. Dressed up and joining the celebration, she quickly got shy around the grown men and ended up hiding behind me. Her actions were so adorable that I couldn't help but chuckle. After the wedding, I moved into our new home. He had suggested I move in with him since his place was too big for him alone. Given that his sister's surgery was going to cost more than we anticipated, we decided not to purchase a newly built home. I could support him for a while, but we couldn't predict when he'd be able to pay back the rest of our expenses. So, I moved into this place. My sister understood my decision but still felt it would be better if we had our own new place. To ease her concerns, I invited my sister and niece over. My boyfriend, now my husband, agreed to the idea. Upon visiting, my sister immediately began inspecting our house, showing her concern. "Hey, it's a bit rude to check every corner of our house, sis." "So, I see a 32-year-old CEO of an import company makes good money, huh? Are you satisfied now?" "Yes, I suppose so," she replied, and my husband and I let out a sigh of relief. The only downside was that moving here made it more difficult to frequently babysit or take care of my niece. It was too far for a 5-year-old to travel alone, and with my duties of nursing my husband's sister, I was too occupied. That's when my niece, out of the blue, said something eerie. "Rachel, I think you should leave this house." "Huh? Why?" "Because another woman is already living here." "Hey, even if you're a kid, there are things you should and shouldn't say." My husband angrily turned towards my sister, questioning her parenting. "Can you perhaps see her?" When my niece nodded yes, my husband's anger seemed to dissipate into fright. "My niece is quite sensitive. Perhaps you're not good with this kind of thing." No, that's not the issue. Kids shouldn't be messing with grown-ups." "I'm not messing with you. It's someone you know really well." A woman with her black hair always tied back, thin eyes, slightly overweight, with a mole near her eye. My husband's face turned pale. He was clearly scared, but it seemed like there was something more to it. What confirmed my skepticism was my niece's next question. "What's your real name, Uncle? You use so many, have you forgotten it?" Even trembling, my husband raised his voice. "You little brat, don't spout nonsense. Hey, don't yell at her just because you're scared." "Shut up." My husband shoved me away. He seemed more than just panicked with fear. Even if what my niece said was strange, it always turned out to be true. My usually gentle husband wouldn't change this drastically without reason. I couldn't shake the feeling that he wasn't just reacting out of fear. I whispered to my sister and asked her to check inside my husband's bag in the meantime. I decided to give up for the time being and get my husband's attention. "I'm sorry, my niece was out of line." "Ha, it's okay as long as you get it." Dang, my precious day off got ruined because of all this. He glared at my niece, but she wasn't bothered. She simply looked away with a stoic expression. "Oh yeah, you have a long business trip starting tomorrow, right?" I used soothing words to placate my husband. He gradually calmed down, and the topic of conversation shifted to what he should bring back for souvenirs. However, we didn't get to discuss the details. The reason was the name on the driver's license my sister found in his bag. It was a name I didn't recognize. Furthermore, she found multiple phones in his bag. "Rachel, your guy's probably sketchy. Aren't these burner phones?" "Burner phones? The kind used in scams and such?" "Exactly, registered under someone else's or even false names. It's illegal." "And what if it is?" "Thanks to that, Rachel's been eating well and enjoying fancy dates, hasn't she?" he said, as if I was his partner in crime. "Cut the crap. My sister is nothing like a piece of trash like you." My sister snapped back. My niece, still stoic, said, "There's a woman clinging to him like she'll never let him go." "Watch your mouth, kid. Even if you try to scare me, I won't fall for it again," he retorted. He seemed less fearful and more brazen now that his true identity was starting to be exposed. The fact that he wasn't trying to escape showed his confidence in not getting arrested. He seemed almost inwardly laughing, so assured he was, until the moment his world came crashing down. That moment came when several policemen burst in, shouting "police," and surrounded him. My sister had already found the driver's license and called the police before telling me. All our conversations had been overheard by them. There had already been several complaints filed by different women, and the man's description matched those provided. The police were eager to catch him in the act if possible, and the situation was ideal. My sister didn't want to let him escape and wanted to protect me. It was a miraculous arrest with our interests aligning in an instant. Since we hadn't formalized our marriage, the man had no legal claim over me. The man I had thought of as my husband was now just a criminal being taken away, and I could only watch in stunned silence. Later, during the police interrogation, he seemed to resign himself or perhaps calculated that confessing would lighten his punishment. Without causing any further trouble for the police, he spoke surprisingly honestly. He admitted he intended to commit marriage fraud against me and drain me financially, likely for the medical bills of his non-existent sister. He also confessed to killing a woman he had previously dated during an argument about his true identity, which she had threatened to report to the police. Although he was frightened when my niece spoke up, he didn't seem to fully believe her, which might explain why he confessed. The police informed me of everything. The night he was taken away, he woke up in his cell choking with long hairs entwined around his neck. He confessed his wrongdoings, fearing he'd be cursed otherwise. When I asked him if it was true about the hair, he laughed and said, "Of course not." He insisted he had finger marks around his neck, but apparently he was the only one who could see them. It seems that some people, when they've committed a crime, are overwhelmed by guilt and resort to escapism. Yet, remembering the image of the woman my niece had described sent chills down my spine. As the investigation proceeded, according to the man's statement, a woman's skeleton was discovered in the woods. It made the news, and when the woman's photo was released, it matched my niece's description perfectly. My sister and I were filled with renewed fear. The man's fraudulent activities were also reported in the news, and more victims started to speak up. It seems like his list of crimes is only going to grow. The man was sentenced to severe punishment behind bars. Inside, he had to be terrified of the woman's spirit every day. I was simply astounded at my lack of judgment in having once decided to marry such a man. The trial for the incident in which I was victimized has ended, and I am finally free from everything. However, I've had enough of marriage. I moved back near my sister's house, so I'm still looking after my niece. Today, while I was dropping her off at my sister's house, I opened up to my sister about my hesitations toward marriage and love. She said, "You're just saying that now. You never know where or when you'll meet someone. You could fall in love after you leave here today." She didn't take it seriously. Time passed, and summer came. Every year, I take my niece to the local summer festival. This year, as I was walking hand in hand with her dressed in her new sundress, a man walking in front of us dropped his wallet. I picked it up and tried to call out to him, but my voice didn't reach him due to the loud surrounding noise. I picked up my niece and jogged to catch up to him, returning his lost item. He thanked me and asked to treat us to something. This sparked a connection between us. In the end, the three of us had a blast at the fair that day. "You're lucky, Rachel. You've been tied to this man before you were even born." "What? Hey, what are you saying?" I blushed deep red at her words, which seemed to make him blush as well. "You never know where love will find you." My sister's words flashed in my mind as fireworks lit up the night sky. I had a feeling that a new romance was on the horizon.